And Matt, take it away.
There we go. All right. Good afternoon, y'all. Happy Valentine's Day. That said, thank you for all of the work that you do. I got to do that today with our staff, and sure appreciate this group for all the work that you do with students. So thank you. Again, my name is Matt Schmazzo. I'm the Associate Director for Academic Support in our office and oversee several academic support programs. And today I want to share some news about our academic coaching program shifting a little bit, and basically a new meeting place on campus that we're hoping to build into a centralized spot for support for students. So I'm going to share my screen here and chat with you a little bit more about both those topics. So let me go ahead and get this going. Okay. Y'all see my screen okay? Yep. Sweet. Thanks, Thomas. So this is our website, and I just wanted to point out, in general, things have not changed on our main website, but to find this information, if you go to /AASC, Boise State /AASC into our academic support services, you'll notice our menu has changed a little bit. And we're really trying to highlight a couple of new programs that we're getting started. In general, all of you are probably familiar with our academic coaching service. So for several years now, with pro staff, we've provided academic coaching to students. And ideally, that program was built to have a longer term relationship with students that opted in. So it was available to all students, and we would really ideally have them meeting with us 3 to 5 times this semester. And in general, we were seeing a lot of data that just didn't support their engagement with that type of a model. We get a few students that would come in on a regular basis. However, the majority of them needed just a one-time meeting, to more or less a consultation to work out maybe one issue they were having, and then they were ready to go. And throughout the process of gathering that data, we had done some research on what would be a best practice in terms of involving peers. And largely, there are many other universities that have different types of peer support or peer coaching programs. And so we are leaning into that ourselves and transitioning our academic coaching program into what we're calling our peer academic consulting program. So we have the great fortune of having 4 wonderful PACs, or peer academic consultants, on staff this semester, and they are all very excited to work with students and ready to work with us through all the kinks of the new program. But essentially what we're doing now is providing students with an opportunity to meet with a peer, one of these 4, to work through topics like one-time topics like time management or note-taking, or if they're just having trouble with studying and aren't sure what the next steps are for them. Our PACs are trained to set goals with students, walk through different types of strategies that they might try. And again, this is a very student-driven process. So similar to what they might see in academic coaching, our peers are taking that same approach and asking leading questions and allowing the student to build a plan with them rather than being prescribed a plan of action. So it's made to be a one-time meeting, although if students are interested and they want to come back and see the same peer academic consultant, they can. But what we saw was the need shifting to just that one-time, either one-time session to build some confidence in the things that they were doing, or learn a few new strategies and up they went. So we're just starting to get more traction with a few student appointments. We've been sending out, you may have seen our peer academic consultants across campus doing pop-up shops. We're really trying to get the word out to as many of our partners and students as possible. So when you refer a student now to academic coaching, we are sending those students straight to PACs. And our goal is to make sure that students are getting seen more often. So because we didn't have a large capacity for coaching previously, this gives us way more options for students to see a peer academic consultant and get the help that they need. We're also really excited about the peer aspect of this. And again, we have this initial crew that we have here. They're doing a fantastic job and are very excited and enthusiastic to work with students. So we have drop-in hours Monday through Thursdays in the morning from 10 to noon in our office. And we also have availability by appointment. So students can either drop in or make an appointment with one of our PACs. We ask them if they have a specific topic in mind so that our PACs can prepare for that. And outside of that, again, the conversations were student driven. So if you have any questions for us about how you might refer to PACs, please let us know. You can email me or our academic support at boisestate.edu email address. But again, we're really excited about what this crew is capable of. And right now, they're getting in as many classroom visits as possible. So if your department might be interested in a presentation, like a 5-minute presentation from our PACs, just to have a familiar face and see a few of our folks, that would be great. We're getting into as many first-year courses as we possibly can to get the word out right now, and just started that process. So if you know a faculty or you're teaching yourself and you might be interested in having our PACs come for 5 minutes at the beginning of the class, please let us know, and we'd love to send them your way. Outside of our pure academic consulting program, I have one more brand new space to share with you all that we're really excited about. And to give you some context, last year when our strategic enrollment and retention plan came out and was publicly open, there were several goals that were outlined, and one of our aspirational goals was to think about a centralized space where students could find support. And as a unit, and certainly as an academic support community, our goal has been to align with other departments as much as possible in what we message to students, how we train students, and where students can find help. I mean, that's one of the biggest issues that we encounter. And one of the biggest things that we're trying to fix for students is having access to the support that they need and knowing where to find it. So last fall, we started meeting with Albertson's Library and their new dean, Todd Colgrove, and their associate dean, Michelle Armstrong, have been fabulous partners with us. And we were able to set aside a space in the first floor of the library that we're now calling the Bronco Learning Commons. So the Bronco Learning Commons, the main idea behind this place is that students can find support in one central location. So we've been reaching out to our campus partners that provide drop-in tutoring centers, folks that have mentoring programs in some ways, other student groups that may want to use the space. And really what it's meant to do is, again, provide a student-friendly spot where you can hold office hours potentially, so faculty members can hold office hours there if they would like to. We are trying to get as many of our academic support partners involved as we can to hold drop-in tutoring hours there as well in specific disciplines. For example, we've been working with the Writing Center, the Chemistry Instructional Center, and the Biology Department, to name a few, to get started. And really, we're hoping to see some overlap over time and when those folks are available so that we might have some crossover there. But in general, really, we're trying to provide a welcoming, centralized space. So in this photo, you can see that we have a few whiteboard tables there. We're actually going to have a few more that are brought in. So it's meant to be very student-friendly. And again, when there's not a session being held or drop-in hours being held there, students are free to use the space as they would like to hold study groups. And ideally, we're trying to build up more of our community of academic support. So this isn't necessarily a place where an office would live permanently. but it is a place where students can connect with support staff on campus, have a familiar face, and know where to go when they are seeking that help. So whether it's in the Bronco Learning Commons or potentially in a drop-in center across campus, we're really trying to get friendly, familiar faces out there to our students so they know where to go and where to find support. Right now, we're looking at offering our PACs are holding drop-in hours to a certain extent there, and resource tables. So different points in this semester, we're going to provide resources around, say, time management, study strategies, and testing, prep strategies, things of that nature. But in general, we're really looking to partner with all of our support family across campus to find ways to creatively use this space to benefit students. So that said, if you hear the Bronco Learning Commons, this is what we're referring to. As you walk into the first floor of the library, you'll see the Bronco Learning Commons up on the right side towards the back of that first floor. So when we describe this, we've been trying to do our best to describe this as not the first floor on the right side. Many students would confuse that with the open space behind Guru Donuts there. We're actually a little bit further back towards the river, so there's a little bit more space there on the right. And frankly, if Tomas had it his way, we'd have that thing in neon lights already, but we're working on that. So in general, we're really excited about the potential of this space. So if you have ideas, events in mind of student groups that you might be supporting, please let us know, and we'll find a way that we can work with you on building that in the Bronco Learning Commons. Again, the library staff and their dean and associate team have been extremely supportive, and really our number one goal is right now on our side, and I think Todd would agree with me there, Dean, is that we know that learning can sometimes be loud, and that's okay, right? We're excited about bringing an energized space there. And it doesn't necessarily have to be quiet in the library. And we're really excited about that they're on board to help us with that space. So again, if you have any questions about the Bronco Learning Commons, you can email me or our main academic support email. Again, that's just academicsupport@boisestate.edu, and we'd be happy to help you out.
Or you can ask questions right now because there's a lot of extra time.
Yeah, we have some extra time. So if you have any questions, let me know.
I have a question, Matt. We've kind of discussed it, but and of course, I who am working on our and my annual goals for 2022-23, what in your mind constitutes success for this pilot program?
For the Bronco Learning Commons?
Correct, thanks.
What constitutes, okay, so on a large scale, my goal for the constitutes success is that we are bringing more access to students across the board. And the way we find that out is to track our attendance in the space and see what students are trying to access there, bringing as many partners to the table as we can so that students understand at the end of the day where to find help on the campus, and that is not a frustrating thing. And I know that's a little bit large scale and maybe hard to quantify, but again, our goal is really solely focused on student access in this space and bringing a centralized location that's easy, right? So that's why we're inviting faculty to hold office hours there. Might be a little bit less intimidating for a student to come into an open space rather than a faculty's office. And ideally, what would really be cool, what I would love to see is that we have a multidisciplinary approach to this. So where it makes sense, we're holding drop-in hours across disciplines that are co-curricular to a certain degree, right? So if we had this is one idea that we talked about with Tomas, trying to stay away from acronyms, y'all, but BLC lends itself to block real easy. So block parties of, say, like a STEM block party or a writing block party. And we know there's going to be lots of essays due across the board, or where there's large swaths of tests happening at midterms, and you can have people from each discipline there. I think that would be really cool.
I had a question.
Yeah.
The new PAC, sorry if you already said this before. Are there times with students, like when a student sets up a time to meet with them, is that typically 30 minutes or is it very flexible and varying depending on the student? What's the expectation there?
Thank you, Nate. So that's a great question, and I didn't mention it before. So in general, we set it up so that it's an hour block, but we really are advertising about 45-minute sessions, right? So they have enough time. Our goal is that during those sessions, the PAC has time to build a relationship, talk about what the student might be struggling with, and present some strategies together. And that, frankly, just takes more than a half hour. So with that said, our goal time is about 45 minutes, so it's not a huge commitment. But the main difference between that and our previous academic coaching model is that there's not an expectation of a continued relationship throughout the semester, right? And it takes a little bit of the pressure off. So thank you. That's a great question.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, what do you got?
Yeah, for students who do want, more of that relationship with an individual to continuously build upon some of those strategies, will they still have the ability to work with y'all professional staff as coaches? Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. So that's still something like, if you're working for a student and that's what they're presenting to you and saying, like, I really need some like a long-term commitment here, then we still offer academic coaching. That said, our first line of referral is going to be through PACs, right? So if you have that situation, Cole, and you want to reach out to us, that's great. Carissa and I have still been doing some coaching. I still have a few coaching students this semester that have asked for that specifically. So we still provide it, but we're really trying to pare this down into something that's tangible for students, that's accessible, and creates a little bit less of a barrier for those folks that really just need that one-time assistance with a particular topic. So that's sort of the balance that we're striking. But yeah, in general, you can still send them to us.
Can I also chime in, like, from the ADR perspective, we are still offering professional staff coaching for probation status or reinstated students as well. So.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah, technically speaking, all AASC advising staff can provide academic coaching, but our ADR team obviously spend a decent amount of time doing it formally because that's part of their portfolio and working with struggling students. Matt, anything else regarding the PACs?
Not necessarily. We're just really excited to start getting the word out to students. So if you see an opportunity, please refer them to our PACs. Again, if you would like us to come present at any meeting or a classroom, we're happy to.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you all.
Up next from the Office of the Registrar, Cinda and Janice.
Janice is taking the lead on this, if she unmutes herself.
Okay, can you guys hear me? All right, having a little bit of audio difficulty. So my name's Janice Gropp. I'm the Evaluation Services Manager in the Registrar's Office, and I oversee the team of 7 evaluators. We do transfer and graduation evaluations. So we wanted to kind of go over some information that we feel might be useful, might be a little redundant review for some of you that know it. Hopefully you'll learn something, and I know we have quite a few fairly new people, so hopefully you'll learn something today that will be helpful. We are going to kind of wait for the end to answer questions so we don't get too sidetracked as I go through this information. So the first thing we wanted to talk about was catalog eligibility. So undergraduate catalogs are good for 6 years. And if you don't want to count back 6 years on your fingers like I sometimes do, you can go out to our webpage at the Registrar's website, and under the catalog tile, when you hit prior catalogs, it lists all of the active catalogs, and then you have to go to another sidebar to find expired catalogs. So it'll tell you right there what's the oldest catalog, which right now happens to be the 2017-2018 catalog. That catalog expires in August of this year of 2023. So if you don't know this already, and you probably all do, catalogs start in the fall term. They cover fall, spring, and summer, and then they end in the summer. And the new catalog starts each fall. So to be eligible in a catalog, a student must have had enrollment during one of those 3 terms, the fall, spring, or summer. And if they only had a term where they had W's or CW's, that will count as enrollment, because that means they were enrolled long enough to receive that W. If they had dropped previously, those courses would drop off their enrollment. We do have an agreement with CWI and CSI that we call Bronco Connect. And so if those students are identified in that group as Bronco Connect, then we will look at their enrollment during their time at CWI or CSI, and they can use that catalog. They don't have to have just Boise State enrollment in that catalog. So every fall we send out a huge mass email to thousands of students, letting them know if they're in an ineligible catalog or in an expired catalog, so that they can fill out the form to change the catalog so that they're in a correct catalog. So they either didn't attend under that catalog year, or possibly it's expired. Okay, the next thing we want to talk about is major name changes. That is when the department changes the name of a program. So for example, the English Linguistics Emphasis Bachelor of Arts changed last fall to the Linguistics Bachelor of Arts. When that change occurs, that new name is in effect going forward for all, even if they started in a prior catalog under the previous name, sorry. So that effect takes place going forward for all students. The next item will be lower division courses when they're transferred in with an upper division equivalency. So when we're clearing students to graduate, sometimes a common problem we see is that students are short a credit or two to reach that 40 upper division requirement. And an example of this is if they transfer in psychology 250 from CWI, it transfers as our psych 321, but the rule is wherever they took and they sat in the class, that's what they get credit for. So if they sat in it as a lower division course, they will get lower division credit. So when they transfer that in, even though they're getting credit for 321, and if they happen to have 321 as a requirement, they would fulfill that requirement, but it won't count in their 40 upper division because it wasn't actually an upper division course when they sat in it. And it does show on the advisement report, there's a designation we put on it as they transfer in that will say LDiv, standing for lower division. So you can kind of see those on the advisement report and get an idea, but it is confusing for students, understandably, that they're like, but I got credit for the 321 and they want credit for upper division, but that is the way it works. And oppositely, if they transfer in a course that they get lower division credit for, we give them upper division credit if they sat in that course. So an example of this would be at Idaho State when they take biology 3301 with the lab, that transfers in as our biology 227. But since they sat at ISU in an upper division course, we will put on a UDiv designation, meaning upper division, and then they get credit for the upper division as well as credit for the 227. And that designation is also seen on the advisement report. So next, students that are considering getting a double major or a second degree, and sometimes they're getting close to the end, they're about ready to graduate, they're short of a few credits in one of the two, and they want to just get done and graduate, and then they think, well, I'll just come back next semester and finish. So we just want to make sure that everybody's aware of once you complete that first program, you do have to take an additional 30 upper division credits for a second degree. So even if it's a double major and you're getting another Bachelor of Arts, or whether you've got a Bachelor of Arts and now you're getting a Bachelor of Science, once you complete that first program and you're getting a second degree, you do have to earn the 30 additional upper division credits. So maybe they only needed a few courses for the degree requirements, the major or the program requirements in that second degree, but they still have to get an additional credits to get to that 30. We actually look at when do they complete that first degree, and then we kind of manually count those 30 extra upper division courses. And sometimes they just need to take courses that are not even in that subject or in that major program. They just have to take some upper division credits. So I always try and advise students, like, just make sure they're aware of that so they don't think they're going to come back and finish a few classes and get their second degree. Okay, so for repeats, those are counted when you have an in-progress course that you're repeating. That's not really shown until the semester is completed. It'll say in progress, and it won't show in the earned credits until that semester is completed, the grades are verified, and then those credit earned and excluded credit designations are put on the courses. So when we're looking at a student who's ready to graduate, if they are in that final semester repeating courses that are in progress, we have to like count very carefully to make sure that once that is finished and they earn the credit for that repeat, that we are backing out the previous attempt so that they're not going to be able to get credit for that twice. So we just have to look at that and make sure we're backing out, kind of mentally backing out once it will be finished. There was an example of a student that was graduating, and when we count up the in-progress courses and we add them to the total earned previously. Now earned means completed, and then the in-progress courses are added to that. So a student wants to drop a course, they're taking 12, and that 12 gets them to exactly 120. So they're asking, can I drop that course? But they're repeating another course. So you have to take that into consideration, that not only would they be dropping the 3 credits, then we're going to back out the 3 credits in a repeated course. So they actually would be short the 120 credits to graduate. So just always look for that in their final semester if they have any in progress repeats, that we're really paying attention to how many credits they actually have. So the next subject is the credit for prior learning. And this is any courses that any credits and exams that we can bring in that's not specifically from a transfer institution. There are things like AP, IB, DSST, JST military credits. So all those kinds of things, I think most of you are aware, we do not post those until after 10th day of a student's first semester. So that once they've actually been enrolled and they can't just drop the courses they were registered in and get all their money back and they have no other enrollment at Boise State. We want to make sure they're past that 10th day, and then we'll post those CPL credits. And there's a whole section out there on our website that explains all the different kinds of credit that they can get. But you just do need to be aware that when you're advising a student and they're looking at what they're registering for, make sure they don't already have credit through their credit for prior learning for the course that they're wanting to register in. And then very importantly, if they need it as a prerequisite, we can see if they've, hopefully most of the time we can see that they, in test results, that they do have that prerequisite, but we can't, it's not really in the system yet. And so we do still need to get permission numbers to allow them to register in that course. So if you can't see it for some reason, or you're not sure, not everything is uploaded to test results, then just contact our office and we'll do our best to find if we can find where their CPL is from.
I'm going to interject for 1 second, Janice. Some of the scores are used as prerequisites. AP and IB, I believe, are set up, but Mark's on the call, he can verify. Other scores like possibly CLEP or DSST, those are not utilized as prerequisites, but the majority of the credits that we bring in under AP and IB are set up to allow the student to enroll with just the test score without the credit actually being posted.
Okay, thank you. So one thing that we have adjusted just a little bit recently is there's something called GED College Ready Plus credit. It's a mouthful to say. There are other kinds of GED exams, but this one is specifically says College Ready Plus credit. And if the student has taken those exams and earned a score of 175 or higher, they can earn credit that we bring in for CPL. And it's some pretty good credit, like a Math FM, a Science FN, humanities. in some different areas. And so what we're asking students to do is to go to our website under student forms, where we have all kinds of different forms, as I'm sure you're aware, but we've added a new form that's called the GED College Ready Plus credit exam. And they just click on that form and they fill out their name and their student ID. And then that kind of alerts us to the fact that they have submitted their GED transcript. They still need to order that and have it sent as an official transcript to us, but it helps us to be able to locate that. Those exams are not uploaded like the AP and the CLEP that we have up weekly uploads on them. So it's a little bit harder for us to sometimes find, and it's a good time to check in with them to see if they've taken any of those that you can be aware that they have some credits coming from that. So on the document that we provided earlier, there is a whole list of what we call double dipping. So that's when you're sharing a course between two different areas. And I have to sometimes refer to this list. It's a lot to kind of always remember. So if it's a good little cheat sheet to have if you're ever wondering if a student can use the same course to share in two different areas. For example, if they have a double major, can they share that course? If they have a major and a minor, can they share that course? So that's a good little cheat sheet that we wanted to provide to you. Another little cheat sheet we use is how many credits we can waive for academic adjustments. And I'm not going to read through all of these just for time, but we are allowed to waive up to, like, for example, 0.99 credits of the 120 or the 40. But once we hit that 1 point credit, we can't do that, and it has to go through an adjustment and sometimes an appeal. So there's that little cheat sheet for you guys to refer to that we also use. So the next area is D grades from Idaho public institutions. So when a student transfers in from an Idaho public institution, and there are 7 of those in addition to Boise State. So CWI, CSI, College of Eastern Idaho, Northern Idaho, Lewis Clark, University of Idaho, and Idaho State. Hopefully I named them all. So when they transfer in from those states and they say they received a D in English 101, well, when a student takes a English 101 at Boise State, our Boise State rules are you cannot use that to move on and get into 102. You can't use that as a prerequisite or to meet your FW. But at CWI, since that is allowed for them, students can receive a D or even a D minus. The state board has determined that we must also allow that to be transferred that way to Boise State. So again, we go in and we put a designation on that course to kind of override that D that we normally wouldn't allow when it's a transfer from an Idaho public institution. So if you ever see one of those and it doesn't seem like it's maybe going to the right place, possibly check in with us and make sure that designation was put on there properly. And then the next one is credit limits. Just to be aware that there are certain limits that are placed on specific types of courses. So the main areas are like, they're limited to 8 credits of Bronco Fit. And when I say a limit, I mean that can't be used more than 8 towards their 120 or their 40. Like they can take as many Bronco Fit, I guess, as they want, but it will limit out at 8 that they can actually use towards their degree. So also independent study is 9 credits, internships, workshops, and then research. So when the AAR is running, at the top, you'll see the 120 minimum requirement. And once the AAR reaches that 120, it really stops counting. So they might have more credits than that, but it's really only looking for the minimum of 120. So it will stop counting. It will take into account if they've exceeded some of those limits that are already in place that are designated by those common course numbers of, like, you know, the 293, 294, et cetera. And then it also won't split. Like, say the student has a course, the 3 credit course takes them over the 120. It's not going to split that course. It'll, you know, say they have 123 and then it will stop counting. So that's something that we look at the top a lot to see if they've reached their 120. But then if you go to the very bottom of the advisement report, it'll tell you how many credits that they have earned. And again, earned means that it's already completed and they have a grade for the course. So we have to look at that's telling us how many they've earned. And if they're currently in a semester, we have to add in the in progress to see how many they will have after the current semester. So sometimes those numbers are different, and I've had advisors ask, like, which one's more accurate? What am I looking for? So that's kind of how it works. That advisement report is looking for that minimum 120 at the top. And then at the bottom, it kind of gives you a little bit of a bigger picture on how many they've earned. And then you have to look at those in progress reports, courses. So you just be aware that there's a couple places to kind of check, and it depends on what you're looking for, what you're trying to determine, where you want to look to find all of that. And then the final thing is, and we talked a little bit about this last time we came and presented, but for international credit, we receive those transcripts in, and if they're in English and they're something that we can determine how their system works, we can kind of determine their grading system, if we can figure out how to calculate how many grades, how many semester units to give them credit for, we can enter that transcript. If it's not in English or it's a very unique system that we're not very familiar with, we will send it to a third-party evaluation service. And we have that listed on our website. There's only specific ones that we allow. And the most common one we send to is Spantran. We used to send to West, we still do some. So that might sound more familiar to some of you, but they basically, all they're really doing is they might translate it into English for us if we request that additional service. But what they're doing is they're determining how many semester credits the student gets in the US system, and they're determining if there are any upper division courses. What it will typically say at the top is this student took 3 semesters of undergraduate post-secondary undergraduate work. So it's kind of giving us an idea of how much how many credits they are bringing in, but we're still only bringing those in as general elective credits in different subject areas. So if it's clearly a math course, we're bringing it in as Math 100 XF. If it's clearly a kinesiology course, we're bringing in kinesiology 100 XF, unless it's, of course, upper division, which isn't that common. So students and advisors, I think, get a little frustrated when we're like, well, we have evaluated the transcript, everything's in this system, and it's just a bunch of general elective credit. And there's a misunderstanding that that third-party evaluation service is actually going to be able to give us specific equivalencies for that course. And that doesn't happen. If it's a school here in the United States, we have our tests, our huge database that we're building equivalencies for, and all the time, all of those catalogs for those schools are uploaded into that. And so we have access to those, as well as we can go out to the school's website and really look around and make some determined equivalencies. But with international schools, it is a lot harder. We can't always sometimes I've gone to a website and it's not even in English. I've spent a while looking around on a website, and they don't really set it up like we have our catalogs and our course description. So it's very difficult for us to find a course description to make an equivalency. We do put that back somewhat on the students to kind of try and work with the university where they attended and try and get some course descriptions or some syllabus. And that seems to be pretty hard to do sometimes. But if we are able to get those, then we can send that to the department to determine an equivalency. And then through an academic transfer adjustment, we will bring that, what was an XF course, and we'll bring it in as a specific course. But just so you understand, that's kind of how it works. Unfortunately, it's pretty laborious. It's a little bit frustrating for students, and just want to kind of go over that again, that's kind of how that works. Okay, so that's what I have. Do we have any questions right now?
Okay.
I have one question about the international credit side of things. Is there a way students can hunt down whether a course is going to count as upper division credit? I was recently working with a student on this, and it was through one of the organizations that has the syllabi that you can view through their portal even before registering and diving deeper, which is cool. But the syllabus didn't say, it just said 3 United States credits, but it didn't say lower division, upper division. I might assume it's lower division, but is there a way that is evaluated, or even something that the student can find out ahead of time?
Sometimes I've seen like specifically West sometimes will determine if it's lower or upper division. I haven't really seen Spantran do that. And when I've gone looking, they don't, most of the schools don't really do like determine that the way we do. Like if you want to be a nursing student in an international university, they're just like, they just start throwing you into their nursing program. And there might be some what we consider general education courses thrown in there, but it's not like, oh, you spend 2 years doing lower division and now you're going to be doing upper division. So it really just kind of has to be looked at it kind of a case-by-case situation. And I'll definitely do my best to really research and see if I can determine an upper division equivalency for a student. And then of course, if we do get a syllabi and we can send that into the academic department, and they feel that it's meeting the course content of an upper division, then they could get upper division for that.
So if a student is trying to predict ahead of time, especially if they're like closer to, senior year and they're thinking, okay, I need to make sure I have my 40 upper division credits, and is any of that coming through in my study abroad? Is that something that they can do ahead of time, like through the registrar's office? Or does it always need to go through the department chair of like their major? I'm still a little bit confused. I still feel like a new kid on the block with study abroad.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely if they can find something in writing that kind of establishes that it's upper division, or like this course should be taken during your 3rd year or something like that, then I would recommend that they send it to the registrar's office and we can, look at it at that time. And if we already have it evaluated, we can make that adjustment. If we feel that that's accurate, we can adjust it to like a 300 XF or something. But it is a little bit, unfortunately, a little bit of the proof is on the student. They're more familiar with that university because they've attended that university in that other country. And so maybe, hopefully they're a little bit well-versed to go in and kind of locate some of that information.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
Liana?
Hi, I have a question about the study abroad office, the credits when they come here. I've been noticing, I advise a lot of global studies students, and usually like they have a long time waiting for, sorry, my baby's loud. A long time waiting for the credit to be evaluated and posted. So I was wondering, like, is that a different process when we are partner with the university, or is that like, how is that time frame goes about? Because sometimes it gets hard for me to tell them, like, I have, for example, 2 students this semester, they're about to graduate, but the credit still hasn't been posted yet.
So we had an example just this week of a student who spent the fall semester in study abroad, and we just got their transcripts at the very end of January. So that's potentially like 6 weeks after their term ended. Unfortunately, it was delayed in getting entered by about 2 weeks by our office, but that 6-week delay is very common.
Okay, so we need to continue to just check with the study abroad office kind of like prior for them to going, so we can make sure the credit is coming as something equivalent to Boise State, right?
Well, if it's international study abroad, that would be done before they leave. They meet with, maybe I'm misunderstanding the question. They meet with that office and they get their equivalencies that they're going to receive before they even leave.
Yeah, sometimes what I've been noticing with some global studies students that they are changing the credits while abroad. I don't know if that's something they can do or not, but then they come to our office trying to make us figure that out. But yeah, I was just confused about how that's like being approached now and why is it taking usually that long?
I'm afraid that's going to be a better question for that office than for us. We go off of what they've actually taken, and the amount of credits that are on that international transcript is what they receive here.
All right, thank you.
So Janice, Cinda, thank you very much. I knew that we would have a lot of questions for you. I suspect there could be a whole lot more questions if we didn't have agenda presenters right after you. Let me know if you would like to come back for for March, because whenever the registrar's office comes, there is a whole lot of interest from advisors about technicalities like this. So let me know if you'd like to return. Thank you very much. Moving on, Patricia from Early and Special Education has an update for us. Take it away.
Hi, thanks for having me today. I'm Patricia Hampshire. I'm the chair of Early and Special Education over in the College of Education. And I was talking to Rachel and Brad, the two advisors in our college, about some of our certificates. And they suggested that I come and talk to you guys and just share with you some different options that we have in our department that might be of interest to some of your students. And so we have several different undergraduate and graduate certificates, and I wanted to highlight just a couple that might be of interest to people that are not necessarily even in the field of education, but may be interested in working with individuals with disabilities. So, for example, we tend to get a lot of psychology students that are interested in some of our certificate programs because it's a nice thing for them to map onto their degree, and it gives them additional career options when they graduate. So at the undergraduate level, and I will send you guys, after I talk today, I'll send you guys kind of a summary of the different certificates that I'm talking about so that you have them in case you have a student that comes in that might be looking for some additional options for once they graduate. So at the undergraduate level, we have a lot of students that, are interested in teacher ed, but we also have students that are interested in working in something called a DD agency. So that's a developmental disability agency. There's lots of them all over the city. Individuals that work in these agencies might go out and work in the schools one-on-one with kids. They may work in the home, but they would be working directly one-on-one with an individual with a disability. And this can be any age range. But it's a pretty popular job for college students, and it's a really nice career option. There's a career ladder within these agencies. And so we've been working with Health and Welfare to develop a certificate. It's called the Intervention Specialist Certificate, and it can be mapped onto an undergraduate degree. So if you have a student that maybe is getting a degree in something and maybe they need some more options for what they might do after they get done with school. They're not quite sure about grad school. This might be a good one for them. And so it's 24 credits, and they would take classes where they would learn how to work one-on-one with individuals with exceptional needs. So that's one certificate. We also have a second certificate at the undergraduate level for individuals that might be interested in working in daycare settings. And so that's another popular, I would say, certificate in our college and outside of our college, for people that maybe they're already working in a daycare and they want some more training, or they know that they want to work with that age range. And so that one is called the Inquiry-Based Early Childhood Certificate. And so with that certificate, it's also 24 credits. And it will teach the students how to engage and promote learning in young children 0 through age 8. And so this is another good certificate that you can map onto an undergraduate degree, and it will give them some additional job options once they graduate. So those are two of the undergraduate certificates that I wanted to highlight. And at any time, stop me if you have questions. I'm going to talk a lot. So, and then at the graduate level, we have several different options as well. One that tends to be similar to the intervention specialist one, but focused more in the area of behavior, is a 12-credit graduate certificate that students can take that teach them how to work more specifically with kids that may have behavioral challenges. Again, this is a degree that they could, or a certificate that they could take, kind of map onto another graduate degree. They could map it onto an MED or any other graduate degree to add a little bit more specification in there. But it's 4 different classes that focus primarily on working with kids with some more behavioral challenges. And so like in our college, you can map these degrees on really easily to master's degrees, or these certificates onto master's degrees without adding time to the degree. It just allows a little bit more specificity to what they're focused on. So again, if you have a student, they're thinking about a graduate degree, they're not ready to commit to one, but they're interested in working with kids, maybe kids with exceptionalities, this might be one for them to, start taking courses, And then they can take those and apply them to a graduate degree as well. And then another one that I think might be interesting that we have that could definitely be interesting to people outside of education is one focused in assistive technology. So it's a graduate certificate in assistive technology. And so again, these are kids that have disabilities that maybe are using different devices to communicate. So we have a lot of students that work as paraprofessionals in schools, all different degree areas. And this would, again, give them a little bit more specific training in how to work with kids that are communicating through different types of computer devices and things like that. And all of the graduate certificates that we have are 12 credits. So they're not long. They're quick and easy to kind of get through, and then you can map them onto a graduate degree. Or if the student's not necessarily, ready for a graduate degree, give them some additional training that can help to make them a little bit more marketable and give them some options for potentially working with students with these kind of unique learning needs. And then finally, we have a third certificate at the graduate level that's focused on literacy. So again, if you have a student, they are already working in a school, maybe they're interested in working directly with kids at any age range, we have another certificate focused on literacy, teaching literacy skills to individuals that have learning disabilities or other types of exceptionalities. And so that's, again, another 12 credit graduate certificate. So I will send y'all I'll send it to Rachel. I actually have already sent it to Rachel, but I'll send it again, Rachel. It's kind of a summary email that I can.
Patricia, I just sent out all of them except for I didn't get the literacy one. So if you want to just send me that blurb, then I'll just reply back to everybody with that one. Yep. Thanks.
Perfect. I will send that. Yeah. Yeah. So any questions? I just gave you a whole lot of information. And when I send that one on to Rachel today, I'll also include my email address. So if you have any additional questions, if you have a student that kind of brings up the idea that they might be interested in working with kids with disabilities, definitely send them our way. And we can look to see if there's maybe a certificate or other programming that they might be interested in.
Patricia, I have one question that I hope is a quick question. Which certificate program do students express the most interest in, but seem to understand the least?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I can tell you.
Sorry, I didn't mean for it to be hard.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like once they sit down with one of us, then they get it, right? But I would say our most popular certificates is that those two undergraduate ones, the inquiry-based one for early childhood, and then the other one, the intervention specialist, because it gives students options for when they graduate. As we all know, some students will graduate with a degree and they can't do anything with it, and so this gives them career options while they're kind of figuring out what they want to do. So I would say those two undergraduate certificates are the most popular. And then the behavior one, that tends to be a pretty big interest area for a lot of people. And again, it gives them some career options while they're trying to figure out exactly what they want to do. So, and that's really why we designed the certificates.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much for the information.
Yeah. Yep.
And let us know if and when you need to come back.
Yeah. And if anybody needs to reach out, I'll include my email address. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Eliseo, tell us about IPS.
Yeah, you said I could share my screen, right? This was
absolutely
legal things. Okay, good. I just don't want to break any rules here. Can we see this? See this all good? Okay, we're good. Well, good afternoon, friends. I recognize so many of you, even if just by name or from past life here at Boise State. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about this degree. So my name is Eliseo Che, or you can just call me Che. I'm a student success coach for IPS and DID and have been in this role for 2 years. Before this, I worked in the financial aid office for a few years. I recognize a few of you from there. And before that, I was in the Albertsons library. So I've been here at Boise State for 6 years. And so today I want to talk specifically about these 3 things. I think they're kind of the biggest questions and the most talking points that I have. What exactly is this degree IPS, and how is it differentiated from the other degrees? I want to look at the nuances between a flex student and an online student. And finally, who is this degree best suited for and who are we really targeting and marketing to? So after each slide, I will open up for any questions that you may have. And then we'll get going and hopefully answer some questions here. So this is by far the most flexible degree plan that Boise State offers. It's different than our other flexible offerings. So for instance, IDS, interdisciplinary studies, is really for students who are looking to complete 3 minors, and you have to choose your 3 minors, you have to get them all, and then that becomes your degree. DID is another one it's compared with, the Digital Innovation Design, a brand new online only program that came about a couple years back. And that one is different because there's varying degree paths, so there is some flexibility, but you have to complete very specific certificates. So with IPS, there are only 12 credits that you have to take. These are our 6 classes, they're 12 credits, and they're only offered online, but they are offered every single semester, fall, spring, and summer. And these courses focus on your past experience, your present interests, and your future goals. And they have students kind of take all the threads of their education and melt them into like one idea. Everything else beyond your core classes and the IPS core, everything else is an elective. So you really have that flexibility to take anything that you want. You can take any of those certificates, any class, as long as you complete everything else, the 120 credits, the 40 credits of upper division, and the 30 credits residency here at Boise State. So anybody have any questions about that slide specifically before we move on? Okay.
I had a question. Does that get confusing with financial aid? Just because when a student comes in here and they're like, I've talked to IPS and I'm looking at ID and they're confused, is a lot of times, how do you protect, I guess, a student with that? If we're referring somebody who's like, hey, but I do WUI, but I'm really interested in this program.
Brigitte, that is a great question, and I'll actually answer it on this slide. It's like we had it all planned, but we didn't at all. And I want to talk about that. The thing that does get confusing, especially as advisors and for students and even for us at times, I'll be honest, is that there are 2 different pathways to IPS. So there's, on the one hand, you have this flex option, and the other one is an online option. And it's the same exact degree. It is interdisciplinary professional studies, but then you get to decide as a student and with the advisor's help whether you're going to be a flex student or an online student. And those are the 2 different paths. So I'll talk about flex first. Flex, this is the way I like to think of flex, is it's the same pay structure as all the other majors. So it's just like any other major that they would have at Boise State. The difference is that there is going to be a $30 per credit online fee, just like every other major at Boise State. So when you look at those 12 credits that you have to take through the IPS program, all of those are going to be that 30 credit online fee. In this one, since it is just like every other major, all scholarships are going to apply. So any scholarship that your student would have in any other major would still be the same in the flex IPS. And the difference here, and this is where it gets confusing, is in flex, you can do all your classes in person, except for those 12 credits that are IPS. You can do a mix of online in person, or there's also a pathway for you to do it completely 100% online. So you could be a flex student who's completely doing all of your classes online and then paying that $30 per credit online fee, still getting all your scholarships, still that same pay structure as all other majors. The other option that you can do is you can decide to be online only. And that's when we get into that online pay structure, which means it's $350 per credit with no extra fee. So we're not adding that $30 per credit online fee. Some scholarships do apply. So if you're, for instance, you're a Idaho resident, you're getting the Idaho resident automatic scholarship. As long as you stay full-time, you're going to continue to get that scholarship. However, scholarships like the WUI does not apply. And the reason is because we get that $350 of credit. And the reason we can do that is we're not adding that out-of-state fee. And this, of course, if you're going to go with online, it is online courses only. So that's the difference between those. Any questions about that difference between flex and online? Okay, we'll move along then. I want to talk about emphasis areas, because this is where it can get a little confusing. And Brigitte, this is where we've talked before. When you look at these emphasis areas, so again, since everything is an elective, this is just one option that we have. And it's a great option for students because these emphasis areas are broken up into certificates. They're all 300, 400 electives without prerequisites. And again, you have the flexibility to complete any one of these certificates, or you can just complete 1 or 2 classes in the certificate. It really is that flexible. But you'll see in this emphasis area, you'll see that it says right here, it can either be for flex or online degree track. So that there it is right there. And you can look at every single one has that either flex or online. So, and there are some that are only available for flex degree. So if you were on the online track, this would not be an option for you. And there are some that are just online only as well. For example, communication management. And so this is brand new verbiage that we've put on to help get rid of all the confusion. So you can just see that right there again, online only or flex and online. Any questions on emphasis areas before we look at the final slide here? All right. So here it is. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so who is this degree for? This is kind of who we're really targeting. So these are students who are, one of the things is who are Boise State employees. So this is the only program that is eligible for the tuition waiver. So because this can be fully online and it under the flex, then it is available for Boise State employees. So this is one of my big heartbeats. This is why I ran into Tomas the other day at Boise State, because I was just going around spreading the good news of IPS to all of the Boise State classified employees who are stuck at their desks from 8 to 5 and can't take a class. This is a pathway for success for them. So this works great for Boise State employees who do the flex but can be fully online. This is for the students who have several interests but no specific job in mind. So there are some students who know exactly what they want to do, right? Like they want to be a teacher, so they go into the education degree. They want to get a nurse, they get a nursing degree. But some just have so many interests. They're like, I'm a jack of all trades, but I don't really know what I want to do with a degree. This is perfect for that type of person. Another one is a student who has changed majors multiple times, and they keep changing majors, and finally they've changed their major again, and then they're looking at this major and they have to be there for a year and a half. Well, the great thing is that if they want to switch to IPS, we can take all of their credits from the past and apply them to the degree. So this also works for students who maybe transfer over with a lot of credits. Maybe all they need are those 30 credits from Boise State of upper division coursework. Well, we can take all their credits from all their schools and then just say, well, you only need 30 credits left to graduate, the 12 of the IPS and then any other 18 credits from that emphasis area. So this is me. Again, I'm LSA Oche. This is my email, not my personal email, but I check this one better. This is the one I always clear out the end of the day as my program inbox. It always goes to 0 every day. And then there's also a You Can Book Me link, and I have all those linked out, and I'll share out this entire presentation because it will have all those links in there as well. So any questions? Yeah, Anne?
Yeah, so I was wondering, is this the online program that has the option where people can use the Associate of Applied Science, or is that a different one?
Yeah, so if the Associates of Applied Science is basically our sister program. So IPS, everything that I just presented about IPS is just as true as BAS, Bachelor's of Applied Science. The only difference with the Bachelor's of Applied Science is we can use an AAS and take up to 40 technical credits and apply it towards the 120 that they need. And everything else is exactly the same. Okay. Great question, though.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much. If you have any questions, please email me. If you have a student that you're thinking about, you want to talk to me about a specific student, I can talk through it or even refer any students to me. I would love that as well. So thank you.
Jay, thank you. Kudos also on the PowerPoint. PowerPoints are so often ugly. Yours was beautiful. And that off yellow was a bold, bold move that you pulled off. So good job. And last up, Jordan, with information from financial aid.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks for having me, Tomas. I'm Jordan Cragen, I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Associate Director of Client Services over in financial aid. And so really my whole job is to outreach to our partners across campus to educate, inform, and to support students and to put that information into the hands of our campus partners so that they can help students as well. And so I just wanted to stop by and introduce myself and offer us up for presentations to your staff meetings. Happy to do a larger one here for future. But things that we can go over that are probably really relevant to you all is like the satisfactory academic progress. So the students who aren't doing so hot in classes, or the ones that might have transferred and changed majors a million times and have a ton of credits and they might be hitting their maximum limits. Also credit requirements just for financial aid eligibility. We often have students who aren't enrolled enough courses at disbursement and how that impacts a student long-term for financial aid. And then also just situations where sometimes students are in really unique situations and they need to sit down with a financial aid counselor to go over their situation and see what we can do for them to help them through what they're going through at that time. So if you are interested in having us, please reach out to me. You can just do financialaid@boisestate.edu, or you can contact me directly. Either way works. But I just wanted to let you all know that we are available and we want to come to help so that to help prevent students from having future issues or problems that you all are informed when you're trying to help them as well.
Could I ask a question? Since we're getting ready for summer, students are starting to want to make those appointments because they can register on the 21st. I know that there is some financial aid that they can get during the summer. So could you kind of explain that a little bit and how many credits a student needs to have to get financial aid and who would be eligible and about maximums, like limits?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is a wild card question because like a typical financial aid answer, it depends. It depends on the student situation, what type of eligibility that they have. Students who are loan only, if they took out their maximum loans during the school year, most likely they don't have any eligibility during the summer. Students who may have had a Parent Plus loan might be able to take an additional loan out for the summer, but they often have to reapply for that. Students who are Pell Grant eligible often have eligibility, but how much and what kind of eligibility very much depends on their credits that they took during the year. So most of the time, if students were full-time each semester, they do have a little bit of Pell Grant eligibility for the summer as long as they're in 6 credits. But I would recommend that they come by the financial aid office and we can hopefully dig a little bit further of what their eligibility looks like. It also depends if they attended a different school last summer and how that school assessed financial aid. And so there's a lot of different things that could happen. But the general rule of thumb is they have to be in at least 6 credits to qualify for any sort of financial aid. And all they have to do is register for courses and then a financial aid award will be generated for them. We are hoping to start generating those financial aid awards the middle of March. So March 15th-ish is when we're kind of hoping that we can start awarding those students after they register for courses. So that does give students the opportunity to assess their financial aid and whether their financial aid package is suitable for them to be able to afford summer. Summer is a great tool for our non-resident students because the credits are a lot more affordable for them. While they may not have the eligibility, depending if they took out their loans for the summer, if they are trying to get caught up, that is a great option for them. A question that we've gotten a lot recently is, are students allowed to go to a different school and say they're going back home for the summer, they want to go to a community college to take a course? How will that impact their scholarship? As long as they maintain the general 3.0 requirement that's for most of our scholarships, it won't impact them as long as they don't become degree seeking at that school. If they become degree seeking, it might impact their scholarship here. But as long as they don't become degree seeking and they pass their course, when they transfer it back, it shouldn't have any impact on their financial aid. But again, we're of course happy to check for those students who might be in unique situations.
Any other questions for Jordan? Okay, Jordan, thank you. As always, financial aid is welcome at UAN. If you have any updates for us, just let me know.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, all right. That's technically the end of our formal agenda. We do have some quick updates, I think, from some of the colleges, starting with AASC.
Quick update on the Advisor Summit. In a couple of weeks, we will be sending out the actual official invite and RSVP, and there will be a registration form to register for the event. And we ask that anybody planning on attending, please fill out that form, because we're just trying to get some numbers for catering and event services and things like that. But as a reminder, the event will be on Tuesday, April 11th. And like I said, we'll be sending out this invite in a couple weeks, and then ask that it be returned no later than March 17th. So if you got a few weeks to fill it out, but like I said, just try to gauge some numbers and things like that.
Also have a quick announcement from the Interdisciplinary Studies program, or the 3-discipline program, not to be confused with IPS. We are now offering informational sessions to just kind of give an overview of the program and work with students to see if it's a right fit for them, but do it in a larger group setting. So if you do have interested students, but they're not really at the point of building the degree and just trying to learn more about the program, please encourage them to sign up for one of our info sessions. I will send a follow-up email with the link for where they can book those, to sign up for the info session. Thanks.
One reminder, ADR is offering an in-person Bronco Rebound workshop on Saturday, February 25th from 10 to 2:30. An email just went out to first-time probation status students, inviting them to RSVP if they're interested in satisfying their Bronco Rebound requirement in person. Also, reinstated students who were reinstated for this spring are required to have their follow-up advising meeting with us between weeks 7 and 9, ideally. So if any of those students, they receive outreach for us, but if you have any interaction with those students and they have that hold on their account, please remind them to connect with us as well.
Olga?
Hi, everybody. I'm actually here to introduce one of our new advisors. Mary could not be here today, and she wanted me to just point out Nate. Nate, wave, Nate. So those who might see, Nate Locke has come to us with a background in both educational technology, graduate and counseling, and he's been a teacher. God bless him. He's actually been an instructor as well. So he has joined us as an advisor, and we're thrilled to have him. I don't know, the other advisor who's joined us is Sharon Gilchrist. She's out ill today, but you'll see her again. So thank you.
Thank you. Coaz, any updates?
Yeah, we just have a brief update on some of the prefixes within COAs that are changing. It might be helpful as we kind of gear up for fall enrollment. One thing to know is that English, this is kind of in regards to the former Department of English, now kind of branching off into different departments. English 101 and English 102 will remain the same. So the prefixes are ENGL for that. Now breaking down first the Department of Writing Studies for courses that fall under that department. The prefix will be write, W-R-I-T-E. So now moving on to the Department of Linguistics, they will be ling, L-I-N-G. That was kind of remains the same. And then the last one for any class falling under the Department of English Literature will be ENGLIT. So if you guys have any questions or need any clarification, feel free to reach out to us and we can kind of help you sort some of that out. So lots of changes. And the last one is there is a new added major, and it's Humanities and Culture Studies. And that prefix is going to be HCS. I think that's all we've got.
Okay, thank you. Education?
Nothing else for us. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Engineering?
Nothing on our end.
Okay, CID? ASPS?
Nothing.
Okay, extended studies, concurrent enrollment?
Nothing from concurrent enrollment.
And honors?
Nothing from honors.
Okay, anything else for the good of the order in terms of updates? All right, everybody, thank you for joining us. Our next meeting will take place on March 14th. Please send me your agenda items for that meeting earlier rather than later. This will be the last of our formal UAN meetings for spring. Our last one technically will be in April, and that will be a training session for summer orientation advising. So come strong with your agenda items for next month, and I will add the Zoom recording link to this meeting invitation shortly in case anyone needs to return to any of the information shared today. All right, thank you again, and we will see you next month.